Hi everyone, my name is Shaina and I am here to do the latest Winning Edge pep talk. And what I'm going to talk to you today is about sports being beyond the court. So beyond the court, the field, kind of the background of the people that kind of make it happen, and how you can also get into that industry as well. So a little bit about myself. I am By day, I do social media for a media company called Excel Sports. And what we do is that we are a media company that exclusively covers women's sports. So if you want to follow them, you can find them online at Excel Sports, basically everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and that's spelled EXCELLE Sports, SPORTS. But aside from that, I also run a networking group. It's a digital networking group called the Minorities in Sports Business Network, that features about 275 members right now that are all across the sports industry in different landscapes. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, basically sports beyond the court. So what we are right now is we are an invite-only digital hub of sports professionals, and the network serves as one of the primary sources for diverse men and women in the industry to connect, obtain insight, and gain a competitive advantage. And our purpose is to basically build our community up, kind of give us that seat at the table. So I wanted to kind of start with what it takes to get into the sports industry, because I feel like a lot of people don't know, or you think that just applying to jobs will get you there, but there's kind of a science behind it. So I kind of want to open your eyes to different things. So I broke it down in 3 points, and the number one thing that I definitely wanted to talk to everyone today is you need to identify exactly what it is that you want to do in the sports industry. So it's beyond, a lot of people think the sports industry and they're thinking like, oh, I want to go work for a team, or I want to go work for an athlete, or you think that the positions are really limited, and it's really not. Technically, you can kind of do anything that you want to do and still relate it to sports, and it doesn't necessarily have to be with a team or a league or even an agency. Pretty much every company now has a sports component to it. So it's just about being strategic, figuring out what you want to do, and figuring out which company would be the best for you. So the one thing, so in terms of identifying what you want to do, what fits your background? What are you working on? What is your passion? What do you like to do? So if sports was taken out of it, what exactly would you want to be doing? And that could be pretty much anything from finance to marketing to being on the team operations side. But how does your background fit into this? Because I think that is the number one mistake that a lot of people make, is just kind of just jumping into the sports industry, thinking that I just want to work for a team, or I want to be on ESPN, when that's not necessarily the case. If you don't have any sports background in terms of player development, you can't necessarily work on the operations side of a team. If you don't have any background in broadcast journalism, you're not going to be an anchor on ESPN. So what are different ways that you can get into the sports industry, and how does your background really fit into that? So that's the number one thing that I definitely want to bring to everyone, is that you need to figure out exactly what it is you want to do, what's your background, what's your history, what are your skills, and how that fits into a job. And once you identify that, then you can start to do research on different positions in the industry, and where they fit in what companies. So research also is a really, really big thing. You definitely want to do research on your job. And that's pretty much in any outlet or anything that you want to do. You definitely want to do research. So if you want to write, you want to be a journalist, what are the publications that you saw yourself working for? what do you want to write about? Do you want to just write about women's sports, or do you want to write about sports as a whole? Or do you want to focus on basketball? Do you want to focus on the business side of it? Do you want to focus on contracts and analytics? This can definitely determine and kind of single out where you should be looking to apply and where you should be working. And which brings me to my next point, is networking. As cliche as it is to say to network, networking is a big deal when it comes to getting a job in the sports industry, because this industry, as big as it is, as many people that work in the industry, is still a very small industry. And because it's something that a lot of people are interested in doing, it's often very hard to get your resume in front of the right people to actually even get an interview, let alone the job. So networking can be something very detrimental in terms of getting the job. And it can also give you the competitive advantage. That was definitely one of the things that got my job over when I was at ESPN, was just knowing the right person and being able to talk to them and kind of get their input on the job that I was applying to. And then when I finally did interview for it, and it was actually like a few months later that I interviewed for that job, he happened to be there, and he was the one that pushed my name through to get that position. So networking is a huge thing. So, and to kind of expand on networking, a lot of people don't really know the proper way to network. There is a science behind it, and it's more than just meeting someone and asking them for a job. You definitely want to make sure that you network properly, and there are different ways to go about this, because again, this industry is very small, so you don't want to be the person that thinks that they're networking and you come off as the annoying guy that just emails someone all the time. So in terms of networking, the number one thing that piece of advice that I can offer is, do not just email someone asking for a job. And just like the Winning Edge is saying right now, building relationships is key. That's something that you definitely want to do, is just definitely build relationships. When you meet someone, don't go directly and just ask them for a job. They don't know you, so they're not going to necessarily vouch for you if they don't know you and they don't know what you can bring to the table. So one of the things that I always suggest is that when you meet someone, first of all, wherever you go, you should be ready with an elevator pitch. You should be ready to talk to people about what it is that you want to do, ready to meet people, whether you're looking for a new job or not. You definitely want to keep your Rolodex busy at all times. So when you meet someone and you're looking to network, I always suggest to kind of just go out just to have a cup of coffee, just to talk to them about what it is that they do, talk to them about what it is that you want to do, and kind of build that relationship. So when you do see something that you're interested in, you can then go to that person and see if it would be a fit or not. That's pretty much all I had to say on networking. Outside of that, working in the sports industry isn't as glamorous as everyone likes to think that it is. So you definitely want to, like I said, do research on what you want to do and kind of talk to different people. So, and that goes back to point number 2, which was networking. You want to talk to different people, see what it is that they do, and see if you can find people that are doing the job that you want to do, and see what their day-to-day is like. Because a lot of people have this notion about going into the sports industry and thinking that it's just going to be super easy, and you're going to have fun, and you're going to be hanging out with athletes all the time and going to all of these events. And that's really not the case for 90% of the industry. So you definitely want to make sure that you know what you're getting into. And I actually have a perfect example. When I was working for the Nets about 8 years ago, we had a day where we came in and I literally spent 2 days just separating tickets. And it was separating tickets for fans. We were helping out the community relations department, and it needed to be done. They had, I don't know, like thousands of tickets that needed to be separated to send to various schools, and they needed people on hand to do it. So it wasn't just about going to games. working with players or doing different things. Sometimes we did have to just sit down and just rip up tickets because it had to get done. And that is really how the sports industry operates in a way. So another piece of advice is that you do not want to be a fan. People in the industry are not looking to hire fans. They are more likely to hire the person that has experience than someone who is just a fan of the team. And especially for people who are just coming into the industry, you definitely don't want to go into fan mode because that will be the surefire way to not get the job. They want somebody that they know can be serious and that's going to be unbiased and it's going to be able to make the money. I mean, let's be realistic here. This industry is about making money. And any company, any team, they want to know that the person that they're going to get is going to make money. So outside of that, I wanted to kind of also discuss the different ways that you can get into the sports industry and kind of the different avenues that you can go into that don't necessarily involve a team or, a network like ESPN. So yes, there are enough fans in the industry, so they don't need those people on board. They need people who are going to be able to get the job done. In terms of different companies, this is something that I was actually talking to somebody about the other day because, they thought that, all I can do is just apply for a team or something. And I kind of broke it down that that's actually that's just small-minded in terms. Right now in 2016, sports is the biggest industry in this country. It is the one industry that always made money, regardless of a recession or not. So a lot of companies are looking to that and trying to figure out a way that they can get into the industry. So you definitely don't need to just limit yourself to a team. And that goes back to the research point of researching what it is that you want to do. Do you want to work in marketing for sports? A team or a league or even a network may not be the best route for you. Why not try a brand? Most brands have a team dedicated to sports sponsorships. If you look at American Express, if you look at Citibank, or even Chase and American Express, I think are the two biggest ones that pretty much sponsor almost everything in the sports world. So if you look at Chase sponsors all of MSG, so they have a huge partnership there. Amex pretty much sponsors everything from, working with the U.S. Open to different NFL activations that they do to different NBA games. And you look at a company like Pepsi. Pepsi has a huge Mountain Dew partnership going on right now. So looking at some of these outside companies can definitely still get you into the sports industry and doing what you want to do. And that being said, I have to be realistic. From a salary perspective, looking at these outside companies, outside of an actual sports network or a team, will probably be your best bet if you're looking for a specific salary. They have more in terms of a budget, more to work with than a lot of teams do. So it's all about really knowing what you want to do and kind of committing yourself to that and knowing that, this is not going to be the glamorous job that you think it is, but it's something that you're passionate about, something that you want to do and something that you want to work on. So, even for me, I realized that I wanted to help people. I wanted to kind of help a group of people that I know, just make sure that we all have a seat at the table and that we work together a lot and that we are able to work together and give each other the competitive advantage. And that was one of the reasons why I decided to start the Minorities in Sports Business Network, because it is a way for us to kind of always have access to each other. So the way that we differ from other networking groups or other professional groups is that we don't do, let's say, monthly meetings or something where you kind of have to just make yourself available. We use GroupMe, which a lot of people are on, And you can kind of control group me in terms of muting the group when you want to, or not muting the group, or just joining the conversation. And we use social media, and that is a way for our members to be in touch with each other at all times. So if you have, a position that it's coming up, a lot of people will put it in the group, or if you want to talk in a safe space about, any topic in the industry, we provide that space, and you're able to pretty much connect and collaborate and network with people on a 24/7 basis, as opposed to having, let's say, like this omnipresent networking group that you're a part of, but you really don't have access to anyone. So we kind of provide access 24/7, and it's been working, and it's great, and it's growing. But that was a way for me to make sure that I always stayed in the sports industry, kind of doing what I wanted to do that wasn't traditional. So it wasn't going the traditional route of, building a team within like an ESPN, or building a networking team within a league or something. It was kind of just bringing everyone together, and like you're saying, it's using technology to connect people at all times. So outside of that, in identifying, back to my point about identifying what you really want to do and figuring out how your background fits into this, the best piece of advice that I got, and it was pretty early on in my career, was it's great to be a jack of all trades, but it's horrible to be a master of none. So you don't want to be a jack of all trades without being a master of none. You really want to, and I think that's one of the things that kind of hurt a lot of people in the industry too, is that, just not knowing what you want to do, so you kind of skip around. And because the industry is not the easiest to get to, a lot of people just kind of settle and take jobs to just get their feet in the door, to get their foot in the door, and not necessarily, do research and figure out exactly what it is they want to do. So that's one thing that I definitely want to stress too, is, with researching your job, make sure that it's something that you want to do. Don't just take a job just to get your foot in the door, because what it's going to do is kind of hinder your experience. So when you are 10 years down the line and your resume, people are looking at your resume, if down the line you wanted to do marketing, but you only have 2 years of marketing on your resume because you were hopping from, ad sales to finance to something else, it can kind of hinder you. So you definitely want to make sure that, you can be a jack of all trades, but you definitely want to be a master of one. So that's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to talk about. If anyone had questions, or anyone had any comments of what they want to do, just let me know. I'm here for a little bit. But yeah, so the point here about using technology, that was something that a lot of us were definitely, that I talk to my partner about all the time, that I think that's our advantage that we have over different groups, is that we use technology to basically make sure that we're connected at all times. What inspired me to get into sports initially? So actually, back when I was in high school, I took a psychology class, and my professor told me that all teams had a sports psychiatrist. And I found that fascinating, because I hadn't even thought about working in sports before, because as a high school student, I thought working in sports meant that you either had to be an athlete, or you had to work for, just hop in a team and had to be 100% knowledgeable about a sport, which to me, honestly, I was interested more in the business side than the actual sport itself. So through that professor, I realized that I had other options of going into the sports industry than just working for a team. I was like, maybe I could be a sports psychologist and work with teams and actually help players kind of get in their right state of mind to play. So I actually went to college to do that. I got my bachelor's degree in bioevolutionary psychology, because my dream was to go to medical school, then get a job with a team and be this on-hand sports psychiatrist that helped all players be in the right state of mind. And it didn't kind of work that way. I realized halfway through college that I was interested more in the business side and not necessarily the medical side of things. So I kind of switched from that. But yeah, that is what inspired me to get into sports initially. Also, I realized that there was a void in people who looked like me. So I figured, why not get in there? And I actually realized that also when I applied to grad school, the director of my program, that's the first thing that he told me, was that there are not a lot of people who look like you in terms of being a Black woman in this sports industry. So you definitely have an advantage there of just make sure, that I was smart about the direction that I was going in, and that, choosing something in the industry that I could really focus on and just kind of break all sorts of barriers. So I appreciate that. Hi, Danielle. In terms of getting an invite into the Minorities in Sports group, that is not a problem at the end. When I give all our social, you can definitely just send us an email and we will make sure that we connect you to the group. So does anybody else have any questions or anything? But that was pretty much what I wanted to talk to today. All right, well, I guess I am going to kind of sign off here. I hope you guys got good information and I was able to help you all. I don't usually like to talk a lot, so I kind of like to just get to the point and get the information out, but I hope I didn't ramble too much and you guys are able to actually get some good advice in terms of how to get into the industry. If I actually, did I think the group would grow so much in a year? I really didn't. I actually started the group off of another group, shout out to Minorities in Media, MEM Connect, where I noticed that there were a lot of people in that group who did sports and the conversation would kind of veer off a little bit. So I actually just started the group chat based off of that and then decided to invite some other people that I knew in the industry that I worked with a lot to just come through so we could have a space. And I really thought it was going to be about like maybe 15 to 20 of us. But when people started inviting other colleagues of theirs and I started sending out our weekly newsletter and I started sending it out to executives that I knew in the industry. And I saw that there was a real interest there. I realized that there was a great value to this group. So, not, like I said, we're at about a little bit over 275 people right now, and that's not including our affiliates. And our affiliates are kind of executives and different people who are not necessarily in the group chat, but who are connected to the group and affiliated with the group. So I would say it's closer to maybe like 290, maybe 300 people who were affiliated with this group. So I realized that there was definitely value there, and I'm just a small part of it. It's really the entire group and itself in terms of people who are engaging every day, providing opportunities, and kind of just lending their voice to the industry. Like, we are really all helping each other. So it's nothing to do with me alone, but definitely the whole group as a whole. Like, we're all helping each other win here. So, yeah, does anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, so I'm gonna kind of just give our social information here. So if you want to find the Minorities in Sports group, you can follow us on all social media. So you can follow us right now. Actually, it's just Twitter and Instagram. We are MI Sports Biz. So that's M as in Mary, I, S as in Sally, PORTSBIZ on Facebook and Instagram. And you can also go to our website, which is misportsbiz.org. There you can find copies of our newsletter. You can find some content that some of our members has wrote, and just basically a description of what the group is and what we do. And if you were interested in getting in touch, you can definitely go through the website as well, and someone will definitely get in touch with you. Also, don't forget to follow the Winning Edge Leadership Academy. I think they're really dope in terms of what they're doing and how they are basically highlighting different people in the industry to kind of give that background insight. You can find them on Instagram and Twitter at the We Leadership, so it's the WE Leadership, and on Facebook and YouTube at the Winning Edge Leadership Academy. And I was told to sign off with a quote. So one of my favorite quotes are actually from Albus Dumbledore in Harry Potter, and it is, "It does not do to dwell and forget to live." So I think the reason why I chose that quote is because I think that especially now, us as millennials or young professionals, we are so hell-bent on actually just getting, being a part of the grind and making sure that we're working 24/7 so we can get to the next level and doing, team no sleep. But don't forget to live, have fun. These industries are fun and you should enjoy what you're doing. A friend of mine, actually, who just recently passed away, I remember she would always say to me, like, what's the point of doing something if you're not going to enjoy doing it? So, like Albus Dumbledore said, don't forget to live, don't dwell, and forget to live. So, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and sign off now if nobody has anything else for me. All right, well, thank you for tuning in and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye.